G'day guys, I've just landed back in Australia after an epic, long, 3-week Warhammer themed Euro trip. It was an absolute blast. I attended the World Team Championships in both the Warmasters single and also in a coaching capacity for Team Australia. I visited Warhammer World, I travelled to London, I checked out all of the different top gaming spots there, as well as visiting a whole ton of different attractions throughout the trip. And basically what I've done is I've put that all together for you today in a nice long video broken down by chapters so you can check out what it's like to be a wargamer let loose in Europe. So with that being said, let's get stuck into the video. I really do hope you enjoy it. Make sure to let me know in the comment section below what your highlights from this trip were. And yeah, let's get stuck straight into the video.
Blog for the Blood God.
G'day guys, here I am in Belgium. We've just landed, Team Australia. We're checking into our hotel at the moment, and I just wanted to update you guys that we're here and we have arrived. Army's all good. Flight was fantastic. I got a nice, probably 4 hours worth of sleep on the second leg of it, so that was great. And yeah, we're having a bit of an explore today. We've got a few hours up our sleeves. We're going to have a quick look around Belgium. A few of us have been here before, but a few of us haven't, so having a bit of an explore. I'm currently having a look around some of these alleyways. There's some pretty cool shit here. Nice, beautiful old cobbled roads and shit. But yeah, I'll hit you guys up with some updates soon. I'm here in Mechelen, and I found the city so breathtakingly beautiful that I felt it would be a crime not to share it with you all. Just a short walk from our accommodation and you will find some absolutely stunning architecture, most of which was repurposed churches and cathedrals from the 1500s. One particular highlight was St. Rumbold's Cathedral, which was affectionately referred to as the Battle Sanctum or Fortress of Redemption. Construction of this cathedral was started in 1200 AD and completed in 1520 AD, and is the oldest and tallest building in Mechelen, standing a whopping 97 meters tall or 318 feet tall. Inside you will find multiple chambers with awe-inspiring sculptures and statues, captivating pieces of art, all framed by breathtaking stained glass windows. Did I mention how tall it was? Because also inside you will find a stairwell with 538 steps, taking you all the way to the top. There are several interesting chambers along the way that house the 49 bells of the cathedral, and the view from the top has to be seen to be believed. The journey to the top takes about an hour, allowing for brief stops in the chambers, and was one of the highlights of my trip to Belgium. Other highlights included walking along the River Dial to visit the many cafes and restaurants,
as well as clocking in some kilometers on their e-scooters as we traveled from location to location. Our accommodation also had a decent view, fantastic breakfast buffet with waffles, fresh baked bread, fruit, meats and cereals, but perhaps most importantly, it was a short walk from the local cat cafe, which is an absolute must if you're an animal lover like myself, as the staff were friendly and welcoming, and the kittens and cats were even more so. The city of Mechelen is even more stunning just before dawn, as the facades of these stunning structures are lit up, showcasing the breathtaking architectural style of these late middle-aged cathedrals. And if you are after nightlife, Mechelen has you covered there as well, with dozens of amazing pubs and clubs along the river.
G'day guys, we're here at the Mechelen venue for the WTC, where it's the day before Warmasters kicks off. And I just wanted to show you guys the size of this motherfucking hall. It's gigantic. There's a wall there, so I don't really show you much, but yeah, it's a gigantic venue. We're just setting up tables, terrain, all that sort of shit now. The event starts tomorrow, Warmasters singles for a couple of days, and then we kick off with the World Team Championships. So, yeah, I just wanted to get some footage in before this place fills up with sweaty nerds and becomes too loud to basically record in. But I will be doing my best to keep you guys updated throughout the day. And yeah, see you soon. G'day guys, here we are at the start of the Warmasters GT. We're about to start the first round. And I just wanted to give you guys a quick walk around and have a look at the sick fucking venue. I showed you before as we were doing the prep, but as you can see behind me, there's a lot of work been done since the, since the setup. So there's people flowing in now. The energy here is absolutely magnetic with all of the different nations getting together. You can see there's, a lot of friendships that people have made that they haven't seen these people in 12 months. So the energy is fucking electric. And as you can see, we got tons and tons of people pouring in. There's around 300 players for the Warmasters singles event this year. And so that's exciting. And then obviously the teams event is going to bring even more players into the fray. A lot of the players in the Warmasters singles are the coaches, the support team, that sort of stuff. And then the players for the team events, the big dogs, they'll come in, in a couple of days when the Warmasters is done. And yeah, so just a quick update. One of the things that I've recently discovered is when submitting my list for this event, I was talking to some of the players from the previous year, and they were saying that they did Best in Faction Awards at the Warmasters singles. So they were encouraging me to run World Eaters so that I could go for that Best in Faction World Eaters. However, what we didn't realize is that updated it this year to include only the three factions, Chaos, Xenos, and Imperium. So that means that in order for me to win that Best in Faction, I have to beat all of the CSM players, and all of the Thousand Sons players, and all of the Demons players, because they're all eligible for that Best in Faction Chaos. And there's just no chance that's happening with World Eaters. Like, let's be honest, the World Eaters is really struggling as a faction right now, and going up against those factions that have really high win rates, like really powerful lists, let's be honest, that's just not going to happen. I'm not going to be able to beat those. So depending on how I go in today, I might just have some fun games, fuck around, lose some games, and then depending on how the team's going, I may end up dropping out in order to assist them with their prep and their practice games for the actual World Team Championships event, because that is the main event. This Warmasters singles was just an opportunity. You don't get down to Europe very often to play games, so I thought, why not jump in and play some games with these Europeans and all these international, players. But if the team needs me to focus on the World Team Championships and my role as a coach, then that's what I'll be doing. So I'll keep you updated throughout the event and let you know what the verdict is. But yeah, as it stands, I'm keen as fuck and I'm ready to fuck. So yeah, I'll update you guys soon, and yeah, check back later. Alrighty, let's just have a quick walk around and I'll show you guys around the World Team Championships. So we've got a food court over here. As you can see, they've got sick fucking marketing material everywhere. There's a nice big food court for all the sweaty nerds having their lunch. Then over here we've got like a lounge. There's all these little couches for, you know, sitting and whatnot. Some vendors and stuff. Looks like they're still setting up, but we've got some vendors selling bits and pieces. And we get into the, of course, the gaming area. But there is one thing, look at the line here, and you'll see what the line is for in a moment. But one of the highlights already I can see for this event is that they have a bar. And you can see Macca, Team Australia player, getting into the beers already, as we do. Yay, how you go, guys? But let's have a walk along and have a look at the tables. You can see that the tables are laid out for the teams format, and I'll show you that in a moment. It's really, really cool layout for a team event. And then as you can see, we've got all this cool WTC style terrain. They really have defined competitive 40k terrain. You can see just nice little touches, like they've got the these banners where you can just, at any stage, if you need the maps, if you need the rules, you can jump in, use your QR code to pull it up. We've got Ben Warrior, Team Australia, Liam Hackett. Who else we got? We've got a bunch of guys set up over there. But this is one of the things that I found particularly interesting and exciting, is you've got color-coded groups of tables with this dedicated pairings table. So basically at the start of each round, Team 1 will set up here, Team 2 will set up there. They'll do the pairings process to identify who's playing against who, and then this grouping is all of these desert-style tables. So there's 8 tables, there's 3 there, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So all of the tables are arranged around this pairings table, which is fucking sick, because it means that this can be the coach's main area of operations, and we're immediately next to each table. So if we are required for anything, we're good to go. And it's really clear what tables you're able to play on, because for example here, this will be 2 different nations playing against each other. They've got their pairings table set up here, and then of course we've got the white tables here, the snow tables. So it's really crystal clear who's playing who and where. We've got some stream tables set up, so make sure you check that out. We'll see, I might even end up on the streams today, being in the Warmasters single, who knows? And there's just nice touches, like good quality table numbers that are really easy to read. And there's also a QR code on every table, so that when you're playing the Warmasters GT, you can walk up, you can scan it, and it'll tell you how to lay out the terrain. And when you're playing the World Team Championships, you can scan it, and it'll tell you the specific terrain layout for that table. So we can be setting up those tables, getting it ready for the players, while the players take a moment, once they know their pairing, to consider the matchup and think about how they want to attack it, those sorts of things. There's a nice big refreshments station here. It's fucking amazing. Like, the effort that the WTC put into running their events is absolutely next level compared to what you see at least in the Australian events that I frequent. I obviously can't speak for what you Americans and other Europeans do for your tournaments, but I'm thoroughly impressed at the quality of, you know, administrative effort that's been put into this event. I'll see if I can get up there and get a view from up at the in the offices up there. That could be a cool little view of the event space. I'm getting heavy TARDIS vibes from this roof, but that's cool. And yeah, all right guys, I'm gonna go see the rest of the team, check in with them, and then get ready to jump into the Warmasters GT, and hopefully we get some big wins with the World Eaters. I'm not holding my breath, but you never know. Depends on if I can dodge the Eldar and the Gene Steel Cult, the Thousand Suns, the Knights, the Custodies. If I can dodge 90% of the field, I should be fine. But yeah, all right guys, I'll check back with you soon. Hey guys, there we have the end of round 1 of the Warmasters singles. I got paired into Adeptus Custodes, which is actually one of the tougher matchups for the World Eaters. He had a lot of access to fights first. He had a really good profile into me, and he had a really hard profile for me to crack with those 4-up invulnerable saves, you know, the high toughness, the high armor saves, etc. So it was a really bloody game. It was fucking epic. the end result was a 11-9 loss to me. So I lost the game, but it was very close, very fucking close. Highlights were when Angron resurrected. So the Custodians player, I forget his name again, I couldn't even pronounce it the whole game, I felt real bad. But he got first turn, and then basically what happened is I went in, he basically moved up into the center, and then I just hit him with everything I could. I did a fair bit of damage, not quite enough. He killed Angron in that first turn, in that second turn, sorry. But then because he went first, I was able to resurrect Angron at the start of the battle round, and then rapid ingress him in my opponent's turn, and then go in and hit him again with more damage. So that was a real good highlight. Master of Executions with the Favourite of Khorne, no, the other one, the Master of Executions with the Berserker Glaive. He charged a big unit of Custodian Guard and just kept hitting them over and over and killed a whole ton of them. Didn't quite kill the unit, but he pretty much single-handedly killed like 8 of them. And because he had that big unit of Berserkers with him, he was able to fight multiple times. So I was able to charge them, fight, killed a bunch of them, then they fought back, killed almost all of his Berserkers, but there was still a couple left. Then in his next turn, he shoots me, I Blood Surge moved into him, and then because I had the Berserkers in the unit, I have fights first, and I was able to fight first again and kill a bunch more of the Custodian Guard. So that was really exciting. The Brigands did okay. The Exalted 8-Bound actually did really well as well. They rapid ingressed at the top of turn 2, so in his second turn movement phase. They went in and killed the Sisters of Silence or the Prosecutors or whatever they're called, that were holding his backfield objective. And then he sent a unit of, whatever they're called, Alaris Custodes back to kill them. And I was able to use my Blessings of Khorne to fight on death. And he went back, killed them, but then I fought on death and killed him as well. And sticky the objective with the Khorne strat. So it's like, okay, cool. So you've gone in, I've killed you off your home. You got no primary. Then you've come back, killed me off your home, but you've also died, and I've sticky the objective. So as a result, I continue to hold his backfield without even having any units on his backfield. So that was really exciting. He didn't see that coming, and to be honest, neither did I. But yeah, ripper game. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do a full summary like this after each game, because it depends on how long the break are. We actually finished quite early, which was good. So fingers crossed I'm able to hit you guys with summaries like this after each round. But if not, I'll just do an end of day summary back at the accommodation and just update you guys on my World Team Championship experience. But great guy, great game, and yeah, a ton of fun. I'll talk to you guys soon. Alrighty guys, there we have the end of round 2, Warmasters GT. I got paired into Norway's Necrons player. His name was Kettle. I couldn't pronounce it, and he told me to just call him Kettle. It's like KJ something, this gorgeous Norwegian name. He was running the Necrons, so he had 2 units of Lich Guard, 2 Doomsday Arcs, a couple of the Daka guys with the pistols, whatever they're called, and a bunch of other bits and bobs. So really cool list, really interesting. And we played the mission was deploy teleport homers, I think it's called, or servo skulls. Servo skulls. It's the one where you basically hockey puck the objectives around. So at the end of your turn, at the end of each turn, you can move objectives that you're in control of. And I got first turn, which was huge because it meant that I was able to move up my army into the center, push all the objectives towards him. I couldn't do any damage to him in that first turn, but it didn't really matter because what it meant was I was able to push all of those objective markers towards him, and then each one of them that was within 12 inches of his deployment zone was worth 2 points. Then as they got closer, next turn I pushed him again, he would push them back, but then I would push them back to him again, and essentially I was able to max primary and he got 0 primary all game. Just because I get the ascendancy, I get to be on those objective markers before him, and as a result, I get essentially twice as many opportunities to push them that he does, right? Oh, accidentally bumped the zoom. Anyway, so yeah, so that's basically how the scoring went down, and I ended up getting a 20-point win. So it was like 100 to me. I was maxing up I was drawing perfect cards as well, which was amazing. So it was like 100 to me and like, I don't know, like 20 or 30 to him or something like that. It was a really big win, it was massive. Really fucking awesome guy though. We had a really sick game, a ton of fun. Some highlights from the game were when my Master of Executions and his 10 Khorne Berserkers advanced and charged out of a Rhino, hit one of his Lichguard blobs, and just nuked it, killed every single one of them. Then in his turn, he charged me, but I get to fight first. So I got to fight into his second Lichguard bomb, and I almost killed that. I killed a bunch of it. And then as a result, he fought, killed a few Berserkers, didn't have enough steam left to wipe my unit out. So then we took over into my next turn, and I get to fight again. And that was game over. By that stage, I'd killed both Lichguard bombs, I'd killed both Doomsday Arcs, I'd killed his unit of Tomb Blades, I'd killed a bunch of his heavy destroyers. I'd just done so much damage to him that he just did not stand a chance. He had no way of coming back. He had no way of controlling primary. So he was just sort of scraping, praying for good cards on the tactical draw, and the cards falling in my favor as well. So yeah, that was one highlight, was the Master Executions. He went nuts. I also managed to resurrect Angron again, so I've done it twice now at this event in 2 games. So 2 out of 2 games. Even though almost every practice game that I've played with this, I've never resurrected Angron. I've gotten quite lucky in this, in that I've resurrected him multiple times. So that's really exciting. The list is doing fantastic. It's doing exactly what I wanted it to do. The first game being a loss was a bit disappointing, but it was into a highly tuned Custodes list, and you know, you can't win them all. And this one was such a devastating win that it makes me feel much better. So yeah, that's a win and a small loss under the belt now. There's like an hour or 2 left before the end of the round, and then they're doing a break in between. So before the next round, I've got like 2 hours to kill. So I might go for a walk back to the accommodation, grab some like bits and bobs from there, head back, maybe grab a snack, and then I'll hit you guys with a summary after round 3. G'day guys, so that's the end of round 3 for me. Very interesting game into the New Zealand player, John, and he was running Tyranids. So his list was a couple units of gargoyles, a bunch of big bugs, so 3 Exocrines, a Tyrannofex, a whole ton of Zoanthropes, a bunch of Lictors, that sort of stuff. A really cool list, a really, really great guy. However, it was a relatively unfortunate game. So basically what had happened is I got first turn. We were playing the mission where you can spawn objective markers, and we had scramble fields as the mission rule. So basically you can't deep strike on objectives, you can't scout move or infiltrate onto objectives, that sort of thing. So he deployed a bunch of stuff. I deployed real conservative, so he couldn't shoot me or anything like that. And then I got the first turn. So I drew my cards, I drew Assassinate and Engage on all fronts, and he had Death Leaper sort of roughly central in his deployment towards the front. So I basically realized that I could get both of those cards if I launched my Berserkers out of their Rhino and charged. And that would kill the Death Leaper, then I'd be able to consolidate into his, basically right in front of his army in the center of his quarter, which is obviously going to be really strong. And so I did that, charged in, failed to kill the Death Leaper, so I basically had him wrapped around with Berserkers. It was ridiculous luck on his Feel No Pains and stuff like that. I had to remind him of his Feel No Pains a couple of times, but that was fine. And then we went into his turn 1. And in his turn 1, he basically did his movement phase, forgot to move the Death Leaper, so he was basically going to be stuck, not able to shoot the Berserkers. So he went to declare a shooting. I was like, hang on mate, before you do that, make sure you fall back with your Death Leaper as you discussed in the previous turn. And he's like, oh fuck, thanks man. So he goes to falls back, passes his Desperate Breakout check, so he doesn't die, and as a result the Death Leaper's alive, Berserker's in his midfield. He goes into his shooting phase and he basically shoots a Pyrovore at the Berserker unit, kills one of them, and then I Blood Surge moved and basically tagged all of his Daka before it got to shoot. And all of it is blast, so none of it was able to shoot into the Berserkers, and I basically just tied up his entire gun line. And at that point he conceded. which was really unfortunate. So we discussed at the start of the game the Berserkers with their Blood Surge move, because Carnifexes have the same thing. So I was like, oh, just remember these guys, they Blood Surge move. You know, you kill one and I get to move D6 inches into you and I just basically tag your whole line. And we had a big good discussion about it at the start of the game. But then unfortunately he forgot. And we got into an interesting conversation where it was like, well, am I obligated to remind him, even though we'd had the discussion at the start of the game? So it was real unfortunate, because it was like, if we do it, it feels bad for him, right? Because he doesn't get to do his shooting, he doesn't get to do any of his stuff. But if I let him take that back, it's like, well, now my one trick in my army, the one thing that my army can do, I'm not able to do, because every time I have an opportunity to do it, I let my opponent take that back, and then he just shoots the Berserkers and kills them all, or he just doesn't shoot the Berserkers at all, he just shoots everything else. And it's like, I would never get to use that ability if I reminded my opponent every single time they shot. So it was like, it was a catch-22, so we ended up getting a referee over and being like, what do you guys want to do? And I was like, I'm happy to abide by whatever they say. If they say give him the take back, then I'll give him the take back. No hard feelings. But if they say, no, it's reasonable, then it's reasonable. And yeah, they ended up saying, yeah, no, it's reasonable. You just had the discussion at the start of the game. It's fine. You should have, remembered. And, it's not your opponent's responsibility to make sure that you remember everything. So, yeah, so we shook on it, and he conceded. And then basically, because he conceded, he didn't get to play out any more of his turns. He's just gone outside. And me and the referee played out the rest of the game, which resulted in me getting a 20-point win. So 20-0. And so that's another big win on the board for the World Eaters. So I think if he didn't concede and he continued to play out the game, it would have still been a big win for me. Probably would have been more like a 15-5 using the WTC scoring because of the differential. Because basically I had tied up his entire gun line, so he wasn't going to do any more damage that turn. He doesn't have the melee capacity to dig himself out. And then the Berserkers were just going to roll him up, and then Angron was going to jump in, and the Maulfiends were going to jump in, everything was alive, and there would have been this big punch on in the middle. He would have still scored a ton of his secondaries, but I would have decimated his ability to score primary because I would have just killed everything that was on the table. So it was unfortunate. I'm going to go have a beer with the bloke now and just chat about it because I want to make sure there's no bad blood. He shook my hand, he was happy with it, he was like, no bad blood. He just felt like he'd been, he'd made a huge mistake that he needed time to emotionally recover from, I feel, which is completely understandable. And I think a couple of beers are in order to make sure that we're all good. So I'm going to have some beers with the bloke. But that is the end of day one, round 3. 2 20-point wins and a 9-point loss. So I actually feel like that's a pretty good showing for the World Eaters, if I do say so. Yeah, we'll see if I can keep up this momentum in day 2. So thanks for tuning in. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Alrighty guys, there we have the end of round 4. I played into the Spanish Thousand Suns player, so we had a Primarch versus Primarch showdown. It was actually a really epic game. There was some really exciting stuff happened. So the end score was a 14-6 his way, so he won the game. But it was a really interesting match. So some of the highlights, I guess, were the sticky objective stratagem that the World Eaters have access to. I used that almost every turn, and I was getting massive primary scores because he kept killing me off an objective, but he's mostly shooting me, which meant that I was able to control that objective for most of the game without having any units anywhere near it. So that was really, really good. And there's some really interesting stuff you can do with that stratagem. And then the other really interesting thing was the Master of Executions. Again, he is such a game-winning piece. Even though I didn't win the game, he was the one that did like 80% of the damage. If anything, I think he was the only thing that really did any damage. So basically, he teleported up his Scarab Occult early in the game and tried to shoot my Jackals off an objective. And I'd stickied my home objective and then moved up into the midfield onto another objective. So when he killed me, I stickied that one as well. So basically, I'd stickied 2 objectives with those Jackals, so they were amazing. And then in my turn, I was able to disembark out the Berserkers and Master of Executions from the Rhino and charge those Scarab Occult, and Master of Executions wiped out the whole unit. So it took the Berserkers as well, but massive damage there. Really, really exciting. So he did that, and then basically they consolidated onto an objective. And then in his turn, he moved everything up, and he moved himself so he was like, I don't know, 7 or 8 inches away from the berserkers. It was like 8 inches away because I told him about the blood surge move at the start. So he's moved up, he's made sure he's as far away as he could have been from those berserkers, but also within line of sight with Ahriman and a big unit of Rubrics and Magnus. And then basically he shoots with Ahriman's unit, kills like 4 berserkers. I blood surge move, rolled a fucking like a 4, moved up right next to him. Then he shoots me again with Magnus, kills like 2 more, and then I blood surge move again and tag Ahriman's unit. And now I'm in engagement range with Ahriman. I fight first because I still have berserkers, and I killed Ahriman and a big unit of Scarab Occult. So this one Master of Executions has killed 2 characters and 2 big bricks. And then in his turn, he's like, what the fuck? So he charges in Magnus, and then I fight first into Magnus and nearly killed him. Then Magnus fought and killed everybody except for the Master of Executions. So now we've just got the Master of Executions versus Magnus, but we're about to go into my next turn, and he's going to be able to strike me first. So I used my Blessings of Khorne to get fights on death on a 4+, rolled the 4+, and fought on death when he killed my Master of Executions with Magnus, and I nearly killed him there as well. So he had 3 wounds left, I think, so very, very close to having the Master of Executions kill 3 characters. Magnus was one of them, and a unit of Scarab Occult, and a unit of Rubrics. So this guy, I'm actually going to redesign the list going forward, and it's going to be all about making sure that everything facilitates him. You know, fuck Angron. Angron was garbage. So in this game, one of the problems with Angron was he kept targeting Angron with an ability that halves movement, halves advances, and halves charge rolls. So Angron was just so slow. He never made contact with anything. He was good in the way that he bullied him around. Like, I moved towards an objective and he knew that he had to move away from the objective and then halve my movement and all that sort of stuff. So he was effective in that sense, but he just did no damage all game, which really sucked. When you've got a quarter of your army, because you know, Angron's a 5th of your army essentially, doing nothing all game, that's bad, you know. The Brigands were pretty underwhelming as well. The OC on them was good, but it didn't really come into play too much. The main thing was the Mauler Fiends sticking those objectives when they died. That was the main thing, because I was spamming that stratagem. I used it multiple times. So yeah, really interesting game. Disappointing that I got that loss, so now I'm on 2 losses, 2 wins. But my losses were not disasters, and my wins were disasters for my opponents. So I think we're looking pretty good. Hopefully I can dodge Eldar again, because now I've had Thousand Sons, I've had Custodes, I've had Necrons, and I've had Thousand Sons, Custodes, Necrons, and Tyranids. So no Eldar, no Gene Stealer cult yet. So if I can keep that up, I might keep getting some wins on the board, but we'll see how we go. I will talk to you guys soon with the next update after round 2. I'm going to go grab some lunch. So cheers. G'day guys, so we have the end of round 5 at the Warmasters event here at the WTC. I played against a lovely guy from France. His name was Ben, and he was running Deathwatch. It was a really interesting list. So he had 3 units of 10 veterans with Thunderhammers, frag cannons, all the good shit. And then he had another unit of 5. He had a few units of Plasma Inceptors, which were really cool. He had a unit of Phobos Infiltrators with a Phobos Librarian in it, which gives him Lone Operative, which was really cool. What else did he have? He then had 2 different types of land speeders, one of which gave him like ignores cover, and another one which gave him +1 to wound. And then of course, it wouldn't be a Deathwatch list without a big brick of 10 Desolation Marines. So that was his list. And I won the game 16-4 to me. And once again, I know you guys are probably sick of me saying it, but the Master of Executions with the Khorne Berserkers was an absolute showstopper. He did so much damage. He killed essentially killed 3 kill teams on his own. Absolute maniac. And it was all because of the Blood Surge move. Now, once again, I spoke to him about it at the start. He knew about it. He played around it. He was on top of it. But there were some situations where that Blood Surge move, there was nothing he could have done. So, for example, on like turn 4, I think it was, he had planted one of my War Dogs in the center of the table on the central objective. and he had planned to do this big charge with his last remaining kill team to hit that war dog. So he moved over, was like 9 inches or 8 inches away from them, going for the charge, and then he shot at the Master of Execution, who was ages away. And he's like, "Oh, you're not going to blood surge into me. You're ages away." And I'm like, "Yeah, no, fine." So he shoots. I rolled a 6 for my blood surge move, which allowed me to move really, really close. And then when he charged the brigand, the war dog, I was able to heroically intervene with the Master Executions and the Berserkers into the kill team. And then because I have always fights first, I got to fight before him and absolutely fucking minced his unit. So there was situations like that where the blood surge move didn't necessarily get me into the combat, but it facilitated a sequence of events that allowed me to get into the combat. So that Khorne Berserker unit with the Master of Executions was fucking absolutely amazing. And I will immediately be writing more into my lists, because even the one that doesn't have the relic for the upgraded weapon, he still gets to do all the cool tricks with the blood surge move, the heroic intervenes, the fights first. He still gets to do all of this cool stuff. So very, very cool unit. Angron was also absolutely clutch in this game, where basically he got first turn and he basically kept everything cagey, kept everything hidden, so that my brigands weren't getting any value. And then in my turn, I basically just bum rushed everything into the middle. And I was like, "You're going to kill a lot, but you're not going to kill everything," right? He dropped his Desolators down, shot, killed like a Mauler Fiend. He charged a bunch of stuff, killed a brigand, but he left Angron alone. And his theory was that he was going to get another shot at killing Angron later. But what he didn't realize, and I did tell him at the start, but what he didn't realize is that Angron can essentially move 22 inches if you use your Blessings of Khorne. So he's got a 14-inch move. You can get +2 to that from your Blessings, and then you can get Advance and Charge from your Blessings, and then you can auto-advance him 6 inches, so that's 22 inches worth of movement, and he has Fly. So I just flew over his kill teams, flew over his Phobos guys, and charged the Desolation Marines and killed them all. So now I've killed all of them. At the same time, the Master of Executions has jumped out, and he's charged and killed the kill team. So I've killed the kill team, I've killed the Master of the Desolators, I've killed a whole bunch of stuff, and at that stage he was just like, "I've practically lost." You know, so we played it out, of course, and he scraped a lot of points. He did a really good job, but after losing those big things, he now had no way of dealing with Angron. He had no way of, getting around that, and he was really struggling to find an answer to the Master of Executions, because the rest of his damage was kind of chip damage. It wasn't massive, like, explosive damage like the Desolation Marines have, and as a result, that he was just getting blood surge moves all over the place. So yeah, it was a really interesting game, really good bloke. And we've got one more round, one more game before we call the Warmasters event done and dusted. So I'm currently on 2 losses and 3 wins, which is a pretty standard showing for me in a 5-round event. We'll see whether or not I can make a win out of this last round. I've been very lucky to dodge Eldar so far in this event, and GSC. So we'll see. Wish me luck, and let's hope that I can continue to dodge them. And if not, I guess we'll see what happens when I face the big dogs. But yeah, I'll talk to you guys soon. Cheers. G'day guys, there we have the end of the 6th round of the Warmasters singles event here at the World Team Championship. So that's 6 games of 40k against some of the finest players in the world. I had an absolute blast. That 6th round was into another Thousand Suns list. So we had an Angron versus Magnus showdown for the 2nd time this event. And unfortunately for me, both games panned out pretty much the same. So there was some slight differences in the list this time. He had 2 big units of rubrics inside rhinos with characters. He still had Magnus, he still had the big unit of Scarab Occult, he still had a lot of the same tech pieces as the previous guy, which meant he was able to do more or less the same thing as the previous guy. But it was a really interesting game, it was really swingy. So I got the first turn, and I moved everything up into the objectives. He was out of line of sight and out of charge range, so I just thought I'm just going to go full aggro and advance my whole army and throw it on those central objectives. So I had like 2 brigands on one, 2 Mauler Fiends on another, a brigand and Angron on another. Like, I just threw everything forward. Then we ticked over into his turn, and he basically threw everything into me, and it was this big fight in the center of the table. And luckily for me, he bounced and failed to kill anything. So he did no damage to me. And I was like, yes, I'm gonna fuck this guy up. I win for sure, right? I launched out my Master of Executions and the 10 Berserkers with the Advance and Charge strat and hit his Scarab Occult. Then I threw Angron into the Scarab Occult as well because of the way that the terrain was laid out. Angron wasn't able to get into anything else, so I just threw him in there as well. Thought it's better to have insurance than not. Some Fiends charged his character, so he had a Changeling and a Blue Scribe, so he had some lone ops. So I threw Fiends into those and went hard. And then, just like in his turn with him bouncing, it was my turn to bounce. So the Master of Executions and Angron, which is like 600, 700 points, almost nearly 800 points worth of investment in my list, all hit 1 unit of Scarab Occult, and I only killed 6. So Master of Executions whiffed, didn't roll any devastating wounds, and then even with the reroll wounds, and then basically he just tanked it on 4-up invulnerable saves, tanked all of Angron on 4-up invulnerable saves, and as a result I just killed fuck all of them. And that meant that then in his turn he was able to teleport them out with the Dark Matter Crystal and then drop them in and then do a bunch of damage. He killed Maul the Fiend, he killed Brigands, he killed Angron, he killed the Berserkers, he killed everything. And then I was like, okay, I'm now completely out of steam. I've got no real pieces left that are going to be able to do any damage. So that was real unfortunate. But I ended up getting a 5-point loss. He got a 15-point win, so it was like 100 to him and like 70 something to me, 74 I think it was victory points. So I still scrapped, I still played for points, but fuck me, it was hard. I leaned pretty heavily into the ability to sticky the objective markers when I die, the World Leader strat. That was critical to keeping me in the game because it just meant that if he's blowing things up with shooting, I'm still holding those objectives, and then he has to come all the way over to them, which can be kind of tricky. So that worked quite well for me. Unfortunately, Master of Executions did nothing, Angron did nothing, but to be fair, they've been fucking slapping the shit out of people all weekend, so I guess they're just tired. I guess that Master of Executions is, he's just tired of carrying the army, and he's like, fuck you guys, somebody else do something for once. And everybody else was like, oh, no one knows what to do. So everything just folded and nothing happened. But yeah, so that rounds out the event. 3 wins, 3 losses. All my losses were relatively small. Like I got a 5, 9, and a 6. So they're not huge losses. And some of my wins were massive. So I got a couple of 20-point wins and I think a 15 or 16-point win. So there's some pretty big wins and no big losses. So I'm pretty happy with that overall, given that the World Leaders faction struggles so hard at the moment for those victory points. I'm actually pretty happy with that as an outcome. So yeah, thanks for tuning in. I'll update you guys throughout the rest of the trip, but this is the end of the Warmasters component. I might, if I get an opportunity to, I might do some interviews while I'm walking around because I've got a bit of time to kill. But yeah, I'll let you know how we go. All right, thanks for tuning in, guys. Talk to you soon. First of all, thank you for taking the time to sit down and have a chat to me. You've run the CSM, you ran them in the Warmaster singles, and you're on the same list in the teams, and you've been doing really, really well with them. So I guess best place to start is tell us a little bit about your experience so far with WTC. You enjoying it? First time? Give us a bit of a rundown.
Yeah, it's my first time in WTC. I got the time to play the Warmaster and the WTC team. I'm playing for Belgium this year, even if I wore an England shirt.
So you got an England shirt, you're from France, but you're playing for Belgium.
Yeah,
you're a true international man.
Yeah, I'm Mr. Worldwide, you know. And so yeah, I'm running CSM because, as I did back in the years in the GT, I'm playing CSM only now. I haven't sold my Harlequins that I took in New Mexico.
So yeah, you're a true loyal CSM player.
Yeah, I'm only CSM, World Eaters, Tisson, or Death Guard, things like that, even if I don't play them for a while now.
Yeah.
World Eaters, you know, it's not really good.
I know it all too well.
Yeah, so for the building process, when the index come out, the preview of the index come out, the Dark Pact rules seems really good, Abaddon seems really strong, but at first we knew nothing about leaders, how that works, like that. So when the index came out, I was like, wow, CSM is so strong. Possess have been devastating wound. Obliques seem so good. Termies are so tanky.
Yeah.
And then the points come. What's a bit of a bummer because CSM is not that expensive, but nothing is cheap.
Yeah.
Let's say
There's no like 25, 30 point units that you can bring in.
Yeah,
and the units that I find, like even the Chosen, things like that, they're really good.
Yep.
But you don't get lots of them. So you don't have a lot of trading pieces.
Yeah, you cannot have trading places like you could have back in the day with 6 units of Noise Marines and big unkillable bricks. So I've tested many things. I've tested the 12 Blitz list, obviously because that's fun with 100 brutes, but that doesn't work, especially on the BWT table.
Yeah.
Moving 4 is just a pain in 10th edition. And then the Termies brick. It was a big disillusion.
Yeah.
Because
it's a hard one. We tested out a few different versions as well, of course. In my experience, the Termy brick was an all-in kind of play. If you can pull off the tricks you need with that Termy brick, it's amazing.
Yeah.
But if your opponent can shut them down, your list just falls apart.
Yeah. I've tried many things with them, so 10 of them with Abaddon is like more than 700 points, so really, really ultra expensive. They take all of your resources because you're Nugget strat every turn, so everything else has been shot. You may need to rapid ingress them, but then against Space Marines you're gonna lose because there's an infiltrator on everything like that. And you're gonna pay for CP, for be able to advance and charge, so that already free CP spent on the brick, just to be shot and dead on everything. I mean, just a Death Watch, that is a bad codex for me. Just house you, shoot at you within 12, charge, kill everything, except even with Abaddon. So I didn't even know if I was playing CSM, maybe I was going for knights. But in the end, I just tell my team to trust me and let me cook something. And I went with everything in the codex.
Yeah.
So I test the 10-man Chosen bricks, the 10-man Possessed, 3 Force Fiend, 0 Force Fiend, full Blitz, no Blitz. And in the end, what I found was Chosen. I really like the data sheet and the points because they are pretty cheap. They are pretty soft with 3 wound each. But they don't hit that hard. They don't barely kill 5 Marines.
Yeah.
But then, you come up with the characters.
Yeah, the characters are where it's at. It's funny how every edition, Chaos Space Marines, it's all about the characters.
Always, every edition. And this time is really different because the characters is not a smash characters, but a really buff characters.
Yeah.
I mean, back in the days was the Dark Apostles, Master of Possession, but a Lord or Master of Execution coming to buff units first time. And you came up with 2 things. Either you play the Chosen Undivided with a Chaos Lord in it, and you get a unit that can advance and charge, pop up for free the Undivided Stratagem, 2 times. 1 time you paid it, 1 time for free.
Yep.
And if you're playing second, it's even better because you go out, charge, pop up the strat, then it's another battle round.
Yeah.
You get 2 armor of content for free.
Yeah.
Really, really ultra good. And playing second is already better in every situation because of the primary difference.
Yep.
So rapid ingressing.
Rapid ingress is way better if you go in second.
And now you have another thing. If you go second, you are really better at the opponent. So, and when you do the math, for example, I was designed to go against Death Watch, Orc needs, Tyson, or something like even the Mirror. And the Chaos Lord kill almost alone like 8 Space Marines without armor of content. Because you pop up the damage free once per game, and you're going to fish for the mortal wound, and every 6 is free. So 2 6s is 3 Marines dead.
Yeah.
So that's really good.
Yeah, I've really found that the units are just a delivery mechanism for the character.
Yeah.
The characters are the main story. And yeah, the Chaos Lord is a perfect example of that, because those devastating wounds on that Thunderhammer, they just do work.
Yeah, there's a lot of work, and you can even pop the Precision Stratagem to get rid of, for example, Abaddon, Ahriman, or everything like that. And the Chosen itself, because of the free Stratagem, become really soft or really killy. And you have, I played 2 times units like that, and the opponent cannot this, because you just send 1, they die, you trade, fine. You send 2, kill, you can interrupt for free against some Orc. I just play against Orc, for example, and I got 2 of my Chosen out. It charged 2 times. I paid 2 CP on more content for free, so we killed 1 chosen because orcs have no AP. And I enter it for free. And then I kill the squad, get to push because I have the objective. I could consolidate into an objective. Advance and charge next turn, get into this back line. The fight you can also advance, shoot and charge, but you can advance, shoot and do action.
Yeah, being able to do advance and cleanse and advance teleport homers and things like that means that you're able to just come on rapid ingress and then next turn just go pop on action in there. Very, very strong.
And I never play them in rapid ingress because of the Rhino. The Rhino is a take piece. I don't see a lot of CSM take, and I think that's not a mistake, but you don't need to sleep on the Rhino because you're able to print, to teleport armor. Against the GSC, it charge a big 20-man blob and that's it. Until the end of the game, you cannot...
Even just things like I played into a Custodes play because I've got a Rhino with my Berserkers and my Master of Execution, which functions very similar to the Chosen. And I played into Custodes and I was like, yep, cool, the Rhino's going to charge in here, the Berserker's going to charge in there, and then you get to fight first being Custodes, but all of these guys have to fight the Rhino. Which means they're not fighting the Berserkers, which means most of the Berserkers are going to live because only like 1 or 2 Custodes are going to get to hit them. So Rhinos, I agree, people sleeping on them, people should be taking more Rhinos.
Even CSM have 2 really bad matchups that are obviously Crafter Eldar and GSC. And against GSC, Chosen and Rhino are just dropping the match for WTC speaking to 3-4 to maybe 8-12. Because they have some difficulties to kill the Rhino, or at least they need to pop up a demolition charge unit on the Rhino. Then you come out, and you not the same turn obviously because you're battle shock, but after that, when the demolition charge unit come, you need to pop armor of contempt, and you have 3 wounds for damage 2 piece. So that's 2 demolition charge for kill 1 chosen. And this is really important to see how with the mat that goes in the table, because you're gonna have the Lord live, and the Lord alone kill 10 man acolytes every time. So chosen are really good. Oblitz only 4, because you sometimes need this out of line of sight shooting to get rid of something, a transport or something like that. Possess, I really like them. 1 squad of 5, get rid of 10 man marines, get rid of an exocrine, something like that. No more.
I think particularly also on these tables, they're quite dense. So we see a lot of CSM that are like triple Forge Fiend, multiple units of Obliterators, and it's very shooting heavy, right? But on these tables, you can actually afford to lean heavier into the combat and then just jump from ruin to ruin and just rip things apart. So as soon as I saw your list, I was like, wow, that's got so many combat elements in it. I love it. It's really cool.
I mean, the best thing I could say, I had a game against the Deathwatch this morning, and like every Deathwatch player, he was hiding everything into a single ruin. That was in the dismemberment zone, but that was the Crucible of Battle, so we close apart. I got the first one, move the Rhino in the middle, behind the ruin, and when he asked me, how far can you go? I'm like, I don't know the math because I'm bad, but more than 24. He was like, alright, I don't see how I can play this game, and turn 2, get both of the units out and kill everything. I mean, Chosen kill really without any problem 10 marines. Even with armor of content. But I get to Vect with Cypher.
And that's why it's really good to have 2 units as well. Because if they're going to overwatch you, you can go, cool, I'm going to throw 2 units out. You can overwatch one of them, but then the second one's going to hit you and kill those Desolators.
And being in the Rhino, you cannot be out of content, or people never do that, because you just stay in if you choose to over-supplement you. So I rapid ingress the process again, always against Deathwatch. Because, alright, I mean, you didn't host me, I'm T6. Can you kill me with Desolation out of line of sight? No. No, not a single way.
Maybe one if they're lucky.
Maybe one, or they need to pay for the wounded choose infantry. But then, good job, you killed 5 process. Turn by Fortune, Undivided is gonna come out from strategic reserve and kill 10 man. So
no, that's really good. So, what factions did you verse in the singles?
I got really lucky in the single because I didn't face any Crafter Eldar except in the semi. The first game against Knights, difficult matchup, but at least he doesn't have any Warden. So
he doesn't get the neg 1 damage. The neg 1 damage is really big.
Yeah, it's really big, but I mean, a Warden cannot kill a Forge-Fiend.
Yeah.
But a Crusader, it was a double Crusader list, one Crusader can kill a Forge-Fiend. So two of them can really kill all of my Forge-Fiend.
Yeah.
So, I don't remember who got the first turn, but there was some good win that I could Abaddon within.
Yep.
With Possessed and the Chosen, again the Chosen.
Yep.
And I could get out turn 2, I did an all-in, just to keep in this battlefield edge. And he did double me turn 4, except Abaddon that is one operative every turn on an objective. And so I was able to get a 14 on that.
Yep.
And again the Chosen have on this match the Grenade keyword. So you could pop up the Grenade Stratagem.
Yeah.
People again sleep on that too much, because you can kill on operatives, annoying thing like Changeling or something like that, and even a Knight, you like, I did 3 wounds to you, maybe that you can die. After that, I got to play against, I don't remember quite, against who I played.
Yep.
I know that I got 2 GSC.
Yep. That doesn't matter what order they were in.
I got a GSC on Scrumberfield mission.
Yeah.
Ritual and Scrumberfield. So I just got to pop objective that I stick with my cultist. It cannot distract on it. So I had my big castle, surround bunch of objectives that I pop.
Yeah.
And it cannot distract on it, so nothing you can really do on this mission, to be fair. So that was a 16 or 17 for me. I got to play another GSC the morning, the French GSC. The match was more difficult. Then I went with 12 or 13 because he did the mistake to put everything, don't you, except for one acolyte unit. And then again, GSC, the key is to keep them oblites on the table. You should never destroy them. Only one undivided Forge-Fiend is in destroy. I will send you my list so that you can present it.
I'll shout it.
And so the undivided Forge-Fiend is the only thing that is in reserve. Because he come, kill 10 man Neophytes from everywhere. And so turn 1 it can do nothing to you. So you always gate to get your Abaddon aura from reroll. And then turn 2 when it come, if you can shoot your obliques within line of sight, you pop up the Overwatch. If you cannot, just pop the out of line of sight, even in Overwatch, on the 10 man acolytes. That destroy within 3, and you almost kill them every time, or you kill 8 to 9, so it's fine. If you kill 9, it's even better, because 1 man is going to stay with a demolition charge and you're really fine. So that's the plan. This is difficult, but with Forge-Fiend you can really easy win this match. You need to be careful by spending your CP because you're gonna need a lot. The -1 to hit to make them hit on 6. Even if you roll everything, hitting on 6 is still really hard to get to pass.
I feel like the list has pretty good CP control though, right? Because you've got the Lords for free strats, you've got Abaddon for regenerating CP. You've got pretty good command point control in the list. So
I mean,
and being able to vec them with Cypher as well, because you've got Cypher, so you not only do you have really good control over your command points, but you can actually fuck with their command points, which is really good.
I mean, when you read the strat for CSM, you're like, this is the best strat in the world, except for the Porn Fight on Death one, that is bad. I never did it once. You're like, I need CP to do all of this, and I don't have any CP to do all of this, so Abaddon give you some CP. I don't play a lot in tactical actually, I play mostly in fix. Every game, so if I can get assassination, I'm going for it. I'm like, how many characters do you have? 4, 5? Yeah, assassination teleports, always. Because I don't want to be bothered by drawing first turn, behind enemy line. That's 5 points that I can't make, and overwhelming force, I can't do that either.
I've been going with tactical primarily because I haven't been playing super competitively, and it's just a little bit more exciting and fun. But I found that with tactical, I get an average of between like 20 and 30 secondary points. So when I'm playing and I'm taking it seriously, I look at it and I'm like, well, can I take any fixed that are going to get me more than 30? And if I can, well then obviously I take those. The problem with tactical, as you alluded to, is sometimes those you only get 20, then that's a disaster. Sometimes when you get 30, that's amazing. But if you're only getting 20 victory points from your secondaries, it's pretty bad.
I mean, from the team event, I played only 1 or 2 times tactical, and against your needs from your team, I need to play tactical because it gives nothing. And I had a good, so I did the 40. Against, I don't remember the team that I played, against the needs from New Zealand this time. I got to play tactical and I did 17. Because I did everything that could go wrong. Turn 1 behind enemy line and killing something objective. I go 1, so nothing. Turn 2, engage on all fronts that I can't make with CSM, and I don't tempting target far away from me. Because that was ritual, so I choose the one in my line. So.
The tactical, it is very risky.
And
especially in a team's environment, sometimes you can't afford to take those risks because
you cannot.
It's not fair to the rest of your team who are playing a safe, smart game. You can't just be a cowboy and play whatever you want, right?
And for the maths, when I take assassination fix, on average, I am 44 points. On average, so.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's better than what I would generally get on average on tacticals.
And you are controlling primary pretty well with this list also. Not as good with the 10 Thermite bricks, but still as good because you can, for example, against some difficult match, Custodes, you can send just an empty rhino on an objective, and you're like, okay, you cannot kill it with shooting. So do you come out and take the middle one, or do you let me score primary? And sometimes if he come out, you kill him with 3/4 and no bits.
So you're generally taking assassination or bring it down if you can, and then teleport homers, or
almost every time that, because for example you can destroy the changeling. And the fact teleport homers, you don't need to get really within the opponent deployment zone. You just have an inch of the base inside, and you're like, 4 points for me. And the changeling in an angle for the opponent is a pain to deal with. Because sometimes you're just gonna have like some cultist, 5 infiltrator to deal with, and you cannot just deal with him.
So they have to turn something serious around. I actually had a game against a changeling where I had 2 brigands and a Mauler Fiend, and I failed to kill it. Because like first brigand failed his battle shock, can't shoot it. Next brigand failed his battle shock, and I'm like, oh for fuck's sake, the Mauler Fiend charged in, and then he just passed all his 4-up invulnerable saves. I was like, this one like 95 point or however many points the changeling is. Like, I just threw half my army at it and it didn't die.
Imagine in Daemon how strong he is. Because he's giving -1 to the opponent, and every time you fail about the shock in the Realm of Shadow, you take mortal wound and he's healed back. So he's really hard to deal with in Daemon. TSM is less strong, but that's still a free on operative for not many points. I
feel like he synergizes a little bit better with the CSM though, because he fills a role and he turns on units, he activates them a bit. So
there is a strat I saw from someone, but I couldn't make it in practice, is you rapid ingress your changeling, goes within 9 or within 12 or something, and you're try to rolling for the 2 or the 6. So you're playing shooting phase, you move everything, you're like, rapid ingress into your dangerous unit, and I go to roll for the 6 for no shooting. And I can win you a game like that. I was like, oh, that's really pretty smart. I need to try, but I play against Hornets, so they don't shoot at all. So,
Alright, so and then how's your team gone so far? We're in round, this is what, round 5?
5,
this is the end of round 5. So your team's doing well so far?
The team is doing pretty okay, I think.
You put my team in the dirt.
we did the best we could. I mean, but I wasn't in Belgium last years, but Belgium have some magic power to put every single one to a draw. Last year they did the same against Poland. A draw. For the team, we did a win against Portugal, we did a draw against New Zealand, and losing side of the draw, really close to losing. And we did a draw against you. We won against Norway this morning, and I think we're gonna lose badly into Spain. Right now, my teammates are still playing, and I think we're gonna lose really hard.
Okay. Well, I mean, you're still doing pretty well overall. Like that's that's interesting. How do you think this will go for the rest of the event? You think you've got some steam left, or you think you're running out of steam?
No, I'm fine. I'm really fine. The most exhausting event I did was Invitational in New Mexico with the golden ticket.
Ah, yeah.
Because I got to travel for 16 hours
Yep.
with a flight, waiting for another flight. I took three planes to go,
Yep.
and with a jet lag. This was my first time getting jet lag. I never leave Europe, so.
Well, that's what we're experiencing now. We were 24 hours in the plane.
Yeah.
With the swap over in Abu Dhabi, so when we landed, we were all so knackered.
And
some of us were halfway through the Warmasters singles, we were still experiencing the jet lag.
And this is really tough to deal with, and this is the most exhausting event I experiment.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm still pretty fine. A lot of games on 40k, but with CSM, against the good codex, you get to play only 1 hour, so you're pretty chill.
Yeah. And I find with the CSM, the games are either over fast, like you either win fast or you lose fast. Like it's not a grind them out kind of thing. It's like you get those big turns, you win early.
Yeah. And when I made the list, I asked for my teammates do I need to score points?
Yeah.
Otherwise, I need to go against only weak codex.
Yeah.
Or do I build for playing KG, saving points on Eldar, GSC, like that? They was like, okay, go for the most killing thing you can do, and go search for most 20 you can get. So obviously in team I'm doing pretty well because my team is giving me easy match to play against. Team is really different from single. I mean, single I got lucky against not playing against Eldar, but I win against your Custodes too. That was not playing Imperial Knight or playing Custodes. I was already worse. I played against Nyamaket.
Yep.
That was a difficult one. So different archetype, and you get single. I mean, you just need to do like 5-11, and you're in.
Yeah.
The team doing 5-11 is pretty pretty bad. So you need to push forward, and they gave me the opportunities to.
Anyway, so it looks like we've got some people pulling in here, so we might wrap it up here. Thank you very much for your time, and I'll be watching the rest of your games because you've got probably one of my favourite lists in the event. So
thank you very much.
I'll be watching it closely because I'll be probably taking some of it, changing a bit to pieces to make it my own, and then and taking it back to Australia and doing some games there. So, thanks for checking on the show, and talk to you soon.
Go, 3, 2, 1.
G'day guys, round 1 of the World Team Championships is underway. We've got Australia versus New Zealand happening behind me. Just going to give you a quick walk around and have a look at who's paired into who. And then we'll update you guys at the end of the round to see who managed to secure the wins. So let's flip the camera now and spin it around as Denise head coach. All right, let's get in the middle here so we can do a 360-degree spin. All right, so we've got the big man Matt Morrisoli playing on the stream right now live, and I think I just walked into the camera there. So Solly playing into, what have we got? We've got his Chaos Knights into the Necrons. And over here we've got Josh McMillan playing his Thousand Suns into the Chaos Space Marines for Team New Zealand. We've got Chris Wright playing his Eldar into New Zealand's Tyranids. That's a lovely bloke that I played yesterday. We've got Jeremy Martino playing the Chaos Space Marines lift that I helped him craft, and he's playing into David Gaillard's Death Watch. We've got Alex Terrison, Gene Steel Occult, playing into a Imperial Knights army there. Over here we've got Will Milton playing his Imperial Knights into the Eldari. Next game over here we've got Liam Hackett. He's playing the Necrons into the Custodes. And then our last game over in the corner there is the Brody Middleton playing his Tyranids into what looks like Necrons. So, yeah, some interesting. Wait, 2 Necrons players? What the fuck? Hang on, I might be making a mistake here. Oh, sorry. It's Gene Steel Cult, and they're painted grey, and they look like Necrons. Generally, when you see big blobs of models, you think that. So that's a summary of the round, of who's paired into who. And I will give you guys some updates as the scores come in. You'll notice there's that one vacant table. That's just because it's been replaced by the stream table.
And yeah, I'll keep you guys posted. Alright, g'day guys. We've just finished the first round versus New Zealand. I thought I'd hit you guys with a quick update on what our scores are. Very late at night, so forgive me, I'm a little bit tired. But yeah, I've got the scores in front of me here. So we had our 1,000 Suns into the Chaos Space Marines. Got a 13-point win. So pretty good, 13-7 to us. We had our NIDS versus their GSC, which got a 20-0. So we 20'd him. Massive blowout. Huge win for the Tyranids. Then we had Liam on the Necrons versus their Custodies, and this one was a shocker. 20-point win. So I don't think Liam lost a single model in the entire game. I think he just lapped everything and kept resurrecting, which is really good to see. Next we had Chris on Craftfoiled Eldar versus the Tyranids. And again, we got a 20-point win there, so another big blowout. Chris did amazing work with that Eldar. Next we had the Will on a Imperial Knights versus their New Zealand Eldar list, which was a 4-point loss. So bit of a expected result there. We know that, you know, Eldar, Wraith Knights, Wraith Guard, very good at killing Knights. So that was somewhat to be expected. What else have we got here? Jeremy on his Chaos Space Marines versus their Deathwatch list. This was a 12-8 win to the Chaos Space Marines. So that's really good to see. Being a Chaos Space Marine fan, I'm glad to see Jeremy was able to pull that one through. I watched a lot of that game. There was some really interesting stuff happening there. Next we have Alex on the Genestealer Cult versus their Imperial Knights. And that was a 15-point win to Alex. Really good to see. And last but not least, we had Matt Morosoli versus the Necrons. This was the stream game, and it was a 10-10 draw. So I highly recommend going back and watching that stream. I watched a bunch of the game live, and it was very, very interesting. So check that out. And that gave us a 114 out of a total possible 160, and meant Australia beat New Zealand and won our first round at the WGC. Alrighty guys, thanks for tuning in. I'm knackered. I'm going to grab some sleep, and I'll fill you in as we go tomorrow.
Go. 3, 2, 1.
G'day guys, behind me we have the start of round 2, the World Team Championships, Australia versus Portugal. We're going to send these cunts back to Nando's. Let's have a look at who we have paired into who. Alright, so we've got some really interesting matchups happening here. I think we're looking pretty good. Alright, so starting, we've got Macca, 1,000 Suns into Genestealer Cults. We've got Soli, his Chaos Knights, playing into their Ultramarines. We've got Will Milton, he's got his Imperial Knights into their Custodies. We've got fucking the Flag Bearer here, Love and Life. We got Terracin, he's got his Genestealer Cults into their Knights, so another GSC versus Knights matchup for him. We've got our Tyranids here, Middleton, into the Orcs. Interesting take from Portugal there. We've got Jez running his CSM into Chaos Knights. And we have Big Ben Warrior, one of the other coaches, running around helping the team out. We've got Chris Wright running his Eldari into 1,000 Suns. And then over here we have the Portugal Eldari into Liam Hackett, Captain Hackett on his Necrons. And I think I already did this one, but we've got Macca, 1,000 Suns into GSC. So some really spicy matchups there. We're feeling strong, we're feeling good. Our chant this year is Aussie, 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 big dick energy. And it's definitely inspiring the team to show these other countries what Australia is made of. So yeah, that's the update. I'll hit you guys back when the round is done and let you know how we went. Alrighty, g'day guys. We've just finished round 2 into Portugal, and we indeed sent them back to Nando's. So I've got the scores in front of me here. We had Jeremy, he got a 16-point win, so that's a big win on the board for our Chaos Space Marines. Soli got an 18-point win, which is another massive win for our Chaos Knights. Chris got a 15, which is a nice win for the Eldar. We got a 15-point win with Alex Terracin on our Genestealer Cult. Brody Middleton got a 17-point win, which is a great win for our Tyranids. Macca got an 18-point win, which is a huge blowout for our Thousand Sons. A fantastic job there. Will Milton, 16 points with the Imperial Knights into a really tough matchup, so that was good to see. And then Liam brings it home with a 20-point win, which is another huge, monumental win for Liam. Let's see if he can keep up that momentum and keep bringing home those 20s. Really exciting to see. And that gives Australia a total of 135 out of the total possible 160 victory points that can be achieved in this team's format. So a really big win into Portugal. I believe the next team we're going into is Spain, so that could be interesting. They actually got a draw against Poland last year, which are one of the bigger sort of scary teams out there. So let's see whether or not we can put the hurt on Spain. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Chris. Happy birthday to you. Hooray! 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 Yay! Woo!
Oh, he's cutting with a spear. That's based.
This is based. It's based.
Yay!
Premium. Go. 3, 2, 1.
Alrighty guys, round 3 is now underway for the World Team Championships. Australia versus Belgium. Let's have a look at the pairings and let's have a look at who's playing against who. Alright, I'll get in the middle again so I can give you guys the full view. Alright, we're going to start over here. So we've got Liam Hackett running the Necrons into their Belgium's Genestealer cult list. We've got our Genestealer cult list into their Custodian Guard. We've got our Imperial Knights into their Thousand Sons. We've got the Wraith Knight mirror match here, Eldar v Eldar. Yuck. We've got fucking Matt Morrisoli playing into the Necrons again, so not on stream this time, but he's had this matchup before, so he knows what he's doing. We've got Macca playing the Thousand Sons here into what looks like Death Watch. And then we've got the 2 games that I'm going to be paying very close attention to. We've got Brody with his Tyranids into Sacco, who's a friend of the channel, and he's running the Chaos Space Marines. And then we have Jeremy running the Chaos Space Marines into Imperial Knights. So I've got myself a little meat tray over here, which we've set up for the team. So we can have snacks during the games. I'm going to be walking around with that, and in between that, I'm going to be setting myself a seat right here and watching these 2 games with some world-class Chaos Space Marine players. So I will definitely keep you guys posted on what's happening there, and I'll update you guys with the results at the end of the round.
Go. 3, 2, 1.
Alrighty guys, here we have Team Australia versus Team France, round 4 of the WTC. We are pumped and ready to go and score some big battle points. We've got 2 stream games happening here as well, so make sure to check out War Games Live if you want to see those games happening live. Matt Morrisoli and Jeremy Martino on the live stream. But let's have a flip of the camera and have a look at what the rest of the team's got paired. Alright, so first stream game, got Morrisoli's Chaos Knights into Thousand Sons from France. Second stream game, Jeremy with his CSM into the Eldari for France. And then we got Will Milton with his Imperial Knights into the CSM. Very interesting CSM list. Alright, then we got Chris Wright over here with his Eldari into the Custodians. We've got Terracin, Alex Terracin there with his Genestealer cult. We've got Denise with the tray of food, and that's into Necrons.
Then we've got Macca, Thousand Suns into their Marines list. I believe it's a Black Templars list, quite interesting. And then we've got Brody Middleton on their Tyranid into Guard. And then last but not least, we have our fearless captain, Necrons, running into the Gene Stealer cult. So looking like some pretty good pairings. I'm really happy with the results of who's playing into who.
Look at him, unable to talk.
They found a way to shut me up. Fucking Denise. No, guys, we'll talk to you soon. G'day, guys. The team are inside doing pairings into our next round, which is in Scotland. But I wanted to update you with the results from the last round into France. Now, it's a little bit unfortunate. We actually got the loss here, which is really disappointing. We were going in with really high energy, high hopes, but we had a few of those games that were on an absolute razor's edge for the majority of the round. And at any stage, they could have either flipped into a massive win for us or a massive loss. And then one by one, each one of them just through dice flipped into massive losses. And that locked us out of the win, unfortunately. So here's the scores that we got. So Liam on the Necrons, he got a massive 18-point win. And Matt Morosoli on the stream game, he got a 12-point win. However, the wheels thoroughly came off at that point. So the next best score was Alex Terrison got a 9-point win. Then both Chris Wright and Brody Middleton both got 7-point wins. Losses. I'm so used to saying wins for these guys. They got losses. And then Jez and Will got 6-point losses. And then unfortunately, Macca got a 4-point loss. So we only got 2 out of 8 games were wins, which is really unfortunate. The team did their best. They did a really good job. It was just one of those games where there were some unfortunate flips. There was a Custodes game where there was tons of 4-up saves passed, resulting in units living, and then that was huge swings, like 15 to 20-point swings in victory points. There was a few games that I was watching where the cards were drawn, and they were just really unfortunate cards that we couldn't achieve, whilst our opponents were drawing all these cards that were really easy to achieve. And that's the nature of the game, I guess. So yeah, unfortunately, that's a loss on the board for Team Australia. We've got, 2 wins, a draw and a loss now. So we can still podium. We're locked out of winning the event, unfortunately, but we can still pull a podium win, podium place. 3rd place is still on the cards. So we are not giving up yet. We are going hard. We're going to crush Scotland, and we're going to remind everybody that Australia is still here, and Australia does mean business. So yeah, wish us luck. I'll update you guys once the pairings are completed and let you know who got paired into who, so that you can sort of play along at home. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys soon.
Go. 3, 2, 1.
G'day guys, behind me we have Team Australia into Team Scotland. Let's have a quick look around at the pairings and who's playing against who in this epic battle of nations. Alright, let me just get in the middle here so I can get a nice 360-degree view of the round. Alrighty, so let's start here. We've got Captain Hackett, Necrons versus their Custodes player. Then we've got Big Matt Morosoli, the Chaos Knights, playing into the Thousand Suns. Over here, we've got our Eldar, Chris Wright, playing into some Gene Stealer cult. Really beautiful army there, by the way. I'll try and get some close-ups later if I can. Then we've got Jez playing the CSM into the Tower of Scotland. We've got Will Milton playing the Imperial Knights into Scotland's Necrons. Over here we've got Terrison, Gene Stealer cult, playing into a disgusting barrage Imperial Guard army. So many cannons. Then we've got Macca, Thousand Suns, playing into what looks like Deathwing? Deathwing? Dark Angels. That's the one. That's the word I was looking for. Marines all look the same to me. Then we've got Brody with his Tyranids into the Eldari. So that's the things that we have this round. It's looking pretty good for us, I think. We've got some really strong games happening there. And basically our goal now as a team is to absolutely pump each team that we verse and score as many points as we can, because that's our only path back onto that podium. If we don't get some massive wins, we're going to be looking at maybe a top 5, top 10 finish. But if we can really just put these guys in the dirt and put them in the dirt hard, then we'll be able to get ourselves back on that podium. And going back-to-back wins is very difficult, but back-to-back podiums is something that we definitely have the strength to do. Our lineup is strong, our lists are strong, and we came here to get it done, and I think we can still do it. But yeah, wish us luck, and give us your best g'day cunts in the comments below. Alrighty guys, there we have the end of round 5, another epic round of Warhammer 40k. You'll probably notice I'm wearing a slightly different shirt than I was in the early videos. One of the beautiful things about WTC is most players on a team will pack 6 or 7 shirts because it's such a long event. But you know at the end of the event you're not going to need 6 or 7 of the same shirts. So what teams do is they swap shirts with the opponents. So I've got a Portugal shirt on right now from one of the players on the Portugal team. So really excited to do trades with them. And we'll see what shirts I can pick up in the trades later on in the event. Anyway, as for the round score, we got a win into Scotland. So Alex Terrison got an 11-point win with his Genestealer Cult. Will got a 16-point win with his Knights. Jez got an 11-point win with the CSM. Chris got a 12-point win with his Eldari. Liam got a big 18-point win with the Necrons, another massive win for Liam. And then Soli got a 14-point win with his Chaos Knights. And the only 2 games that Australia lost this round were Brody lost with his Tyranids and Josh McMillan lost with his Thousand Sons, but they were 6 and 7-point losses respectively. So not massive blowouts. So a really strong performance from the entire team. Australia is back firing on all pistons. And basically looking at it now, there's a very real path for us to get 2nd or 3rd place. There's technically a possibility that we could get 1st. It's unlikely, but it is still possible, and we are treating it like it's very much something that we can achieve. So we're going hard, we're not slowing down, we're not running out of steam, and I'll keep you guys posted. I believe we're going into Austria first round tomorrow, so I'll let you know when the pairings are done, and I'll keep you guys posted with the results.
Go, 3, 2, 1.
G'day guys, here we are, round 6 of the WTC, and we have Australia versus Austria. So it is the battle of the Aussies. So let's have a look at our pairings and let's have a talk about who's playing who, and then our predicted results. So over here, we'll start over here, we've got Brody Middleton on the Tyranids into their Orcs player. We've got Chris Wright on the Eldar into the Knights. That should be a nice solid win. Over here we've got Captain Hackett Necrons versus the Austrian Eldar player. Over here we've got Macca in the Thousand Sons mirror match. So we'll see whether bringing Magnus or not is the superior choice on that one. We've got Terrison, Genestealer Cults versus Necrons. We've got Milton, Imperial Knights versus a really interesting Chaos Demons list that has 3 Soul Grinders, which is a bold move given these tables and the density. Then we've got Jeremy, the Marigold, CSM into GSC. And then we round it out with Matt Morrisoli running his Chaos Knights into the Death Watch. So it's there. I think it's looking good for Australia. But I was just chatting to the Austrian coach, and he was saying that they're pretty happy with the pairings as well. So it's always an interesting round when both teams are happy with the pairings, because it means somebody's wrong. And fingers crossed it is not the Australians, it's the Austrians. So yeah, I'll hit you guys back when we have some round results in. But yeah, wish us luck.
Alrighty guys, there we have the end of round 6, and Australia got the win into Austria, which is really fantastic and has put us in a position where we can realistically achieve a podium if we keep up this momentum and if we push hard. So the scores from that round were Brody's Tyranids. He got an 18-point win, which is fantastic. Matt Morrisoli on his Chaos Knights got a 15-point win. Jez got a 4-point loss, but that was into Genestealer Cult, so that was expected. Chris got a massive 20-point win with his Eldari into the Imperial Knights. Will got a 14-point win with his Imperial Knights into their Demons. Liam got a 12-point win into their Eldari, which was the person who won the Warmasters singles event. So Liam was able to take his scalp, which is fantastic. Then we had Macca in the Thousand Suns mirror match, and they got a 10-10 draw. So it turns out that either way you slice that thing up, it's all good. And then last but not least, we have Alex Terrison also got a draw with his Genestealer Cult. So a really strong round. We only dropped one game. We got a really high battle points, which has put us in a fantastic position going into round 7. So I'll update you guys when we have the opponent, we have the pairings and all that sort of shit, and I'll talk to you soon.
Go. 3, 2, 1.
G'day guys, welcome to this round 7, the finals of the World Team Championships. We have Team Australia over here, Team Netherlands over here, the Clogwogs themselves. So let's have a look at the pairings against who. I'm going to once again jump in the middle here so we can have a look around. Alright, we have Will on his Imperial Knights into the Eldari. We have Alex on his Genestealer Cults into the Imperial Knights. We've got Brody on the Tyranids into what looks like Genestealer Cult. We have Chris Wright on his Eldari into their Tau list, quite an interesting list. We've got Captain Liam Hackett with his Necrons into the Custodians. We've got Big Jez Martino, CSM into their Necrons. Over here, we've got Matt Morrisoli once again playing his Chaos Knights into the Death Watch, around a matchup that he recently just did really, really well in, so it's good to see that again. And then we've got the Thousand Suns into Thousand Suns, so it's another T-Sun mirror. So we're seeing Mac is going to be deeply intimatable about that faction after playing multiple mirror matches with it at the World Team Championships. So we're looking good. The boys are pretty happy. On our predicted scores, we should win this round. I obviously don't want to jinx it. And it's going to be interesting because we don't have any scores predicting higher than a 12. And we don't really have any predicting lower than an 8. So all of those could very easily become draws if things don't go our way. Or if they do, in the case of the round, the matchups where we're expecting an 8. So it's all in the balance. Any one of those games could swing at any point. So I'll update you guys again when we do have some scores coming through. But for now, we're looking good. And as long as we can keep our predictions accurate, we should win this round. So wish us luck, guys, and I'll talk to you soon. All right, g'day, guys. There we have the end of the 7th round. The final scores in for Australia for the World Team Championships. We just went up against the Netherlands and we put them in the dirt. So here are our scores. We got Brody on the Tyranids, got a 5-point loss. Matt Morrisoli got a massive 17-point win. Jez on the CSM got an 11-point win. Chris got a 20-point win. That game was over in like 20 minutes. It was so crazy. Will got a 0. He got absolutely dumpstered, but it was okay. It was a put-up. We expected that. Liam got a 19-point win with the Necrons. Really, really strong result there. Josh got a 16-point win into the mirror match, which was fantastic result. We were expecting a draw. Getting a 16 is huge. Next, we had Alex Terrison got a 13-point win as well. And that rounds out our scores for this round. So based on the events, sort of layout and the way that everyone got their scores, it's looking like we're more or less locked in at a third place. But there are still some teams that have got their scores yet to be submitted, so we'll have to wait and see, and I will most certainly be updating you guys once we have a podium locked in results, but it's looking like a third place for Team Australia, so we're all really fucking chuffed. We're going to go out and get shit-faced tonight, but yeah, that's the results for this round, and I'll hit you guys up again when we have the final placings once all of the team's scores are in. Alright, cheers guys. G'day guys, I've just arrived here at Nottingham. I'm staying at the St. James Hotel and I'm about to head down to Warhammer World. And on my walk, I found this fantastic castle. It's called the Nottingham Castle and it looks really exciting. So I thought I'd just, on the way to Warhammer World, I'd pop in and check it out and take you guys along for the ride. So let's have a look inside, shall we? Turns out the castle doesn't open until 10 AM, so I thought I'd take an opportunity to walk around the outside of it, have a look at some of the statues and some of the cool stuff that's around, and also learn a little bit about the history of the castle before I entered. So the Nottingham Castle was once an important stronghold in medieval England. It was a strategic gateway to the north, the Royal Forest of Sherwood, home of the legendary Robin Hood. This gatehouse was a fortified entrance to the castle's outer bailey, protected by portcullis, iron gating, and it was approached by a strong bridge. While much of the gatehouse was rebuilt in 1908, the original medieval stonework survives to nearly the first floor level. This castle is also surrounded by a bunch of really cool little cafes and bars, including the oldest inn in England. As you enter through the castle gates, you're greeted by a nice wide open area that would have been used for things like fairs, markets, and all other kinds of outdoor activities within the castle walls. There are two main entrances to the castle's middle bailey. The first is an underground tunnel with layered defence leading to a bottom floor which is now home to some scale models of the original castle and bailey, as well as a few fun activities for children. The second entrance to the middle bailey is a fortified stone bridge, leading to a series of stone steps taking you up to the summit, where you can find the main entrances to the middle bailey, as well as some absolute ripper views. The Nottingham Castle has a deep and rich history that goes beyond its use in medieval England. The result of many battles left the castle in a largely ruined state. After the restoration of Charles II in 1660, the present ducal mansion was built for the first Duke of Newcastle and completed by his son, the second Duke of Newcastle, after the first Duke's death. This Italianate palace was seen as one of the finest in England at the time. However, the mansion lost its appeal to the later dukes with the coming of the Industrial Revolution. When residents rioted in 1831 in protest against the fourth Duke of Newcastle, they burned down the mansion. The mansion remained a derelict shell until it was restored in 1875 by Thomas Chambers Hine and opened in 1878 by the Prince of Wales, later King Edward VII, as Nottingham Castle Museum, as it stands today.
G'day guys, I've finally arrived here at Warhammer World in front of the epic life-size Rhino transport and the iron-cast Space Marine statue. Let's jump inside and have a look, shall we? Before entering, let's check out the life-size Rhino and Marine statues. Looks like just as on the tabletop, the Rhino is doing its best TARDIS impression by being bigger on the inside, as it would unlikely fit 12 modern humans, let alone super soldiers clad in power armor. First stop was Bugman's Bar, a themed cafe, restaurant and bar within Warhammer World that has amazing food, drinks and atmosphere. The perfect place to relax between games, before or after viewing the exhibits, or kick back while your dork of a partner geeks out over 40k for a few hours. I enjoyed a few ciders and a bowl of their loaded nachos, and I have to say I was pleasantly surprised that a Warhammer pub could produce such amazing food. Now onto the gaming hall. The events hall is a huge space in between Bugman's Bar, the store, and the exhibitions hall. Unfortunately, there were no events taking place while I was visiting. However, the events hall is more than just for scheduled events. It is also a great place to secure pickup or casual games with mates, or just bring your army down and make some new mates while you're here. In addition to the gaming aspect, the events hall also has some truly inspiring tables set up that are absolutely stunning. So when you make your trip to Warhammer World, be sure to pack an army and get in some games on these lovely tables. To round out my Warhammer World experience and this video, please enjoy this rapid walkthrough showing the sheer scale of the exhibitions hall, followed by close-ups of all the displays, dioramas and showcased models. There are 4 exhibition areas containing 27 dioramas featuring over 20,000 miniatures, as well as countless display cases showcasing gorgeously painted Warhammer miniatures. So next time you look at your pile of shame or see somebody with an unfinished army, show them this video and shame them. Thank you for joining me on my Warhammer World journey. I highly recommend you make the trip yourself if you can, as the true scale and majesty of the exhibitions hall needs to be seen to be believed. Enjoy the rest of the video, thanks for tuning in, like, subscribe, all that good shit, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers. G'day guys, I'm here in Nottingham for Warhammer World and I've got a couple extra days up my sleeve, so I thought what I'd do is I'd check out some of the other things that Nottingham is famous for, notably the Sherwood Forrest and the legendary Robin Hood. So I'm going to check out some of the other activities that are available so that if you find yourself in Nottingham for Warhammer World, these are some things you might want to do whilst you're here. So let's get stuck into some activities, shall we? A short bus trip north of Nottingham leads you to the Sherwood Forest. I was lucky enough to arrive on an absolute ripper of a day that really showed off the beautiful greenery on the forest walking trails. Into the forest provide axe throwing, archery and other activities for all ages, and while World Eaters aren't known for ranged combat, I figured I would give it a go regardless. After hours of activities in the sun, it was time to grab a cold drink at a nearby pop-up bar before heading back to town. Alrighty, now that we're back in town, it's time to check out the Robin Hood Experience Interactive Museum. Let's have a look inside. Once inside, you will find 3 floors with 6 unique rooms telling the many different stories of the mysterious Robin Hood. Each room is absolutely packed full of detail and stories, with animatronic characters recanting tales and the legends of Robin and his merry men. Many of these tales have conflicting information, so it is up to you to decide which version of Robin Hood you believe to be true, or if you think that they are all mere legend. I, for one, believe Robin Hood is more of an alias adopted by multiple individuals throughout the history of Sherwood, explaining the multiple conflicting legends. If you wanted to read all of the information, you could easily spend hours within this museum. However, if you wanted to get through it relatively rapidly, you could do it within half an hour. It's entirely up to you. The amount of information available on the walls in this museum is staggering. I, for one, am dyslexic as fuck, however, so I was only in there for about half an hour. I am here in London for the final leg of my Warhammer 40k Euro trip, and I have a full day before we get stuck into some 40k, so I thought I would take the time to look around and share what I find. One of the first things I noticed was how many sites there are within walking distance of my accommodation, in particular Kensington and Buckingham Palaces, as well as Hyde Park and all of the various statues and monuments all over the city. London has several truly massive parks that have some fantastic walking trails that you could spend hours exploring, or if you are like me and find hours of exploring exhausting, they are also great places for a cheeky nap. After my nap, it was time to boop the snoot of a friendly squirrel, check out the other local wildlife before heading off to a different view of the city I just landed in. The Eye of London is the most popular paid tourist attraction in the United Kingdom, with over 3 million visitors per year, and I can see why. This 135 metre tall rotating observation deck provides a unique and breathtaking view of the city, and is a great way to start your trip in London, as you get to see the scale of the city that you are about to explore. Another great way to start your trip is with a boat tour up the River Thames. The tour guides point out some of the interesting sights along the way while sharing the history of the city in an often dry British comedic style that made the trip as entertaining as it was informative. Provided you are not prone to seasickness, I highly recommend the river boat tour, even if you just take it one way on your way to one of the other activities or attractions. Speaking of other activities and attractions, it was time to visit the Science Museum. If you can avoid being exterminated on entry, you will see some awesome space exhibitions, then some really cool displays of automotive history. Upstairs is an exhibition on aviation that had scale models of planes throughout history, which, as a miniature wargamer, I was particularly interested in. There were also some life-size replicas and original planes from war times and times of peace. Then down to the basement for the attraction that drew me to the museum, the hands-on history of gaming exhibition. Down there they had so many nostalgic experiences, from playing old school Super Mario to the big 16-player LAN matches of Halo 2. They also had one wall which showed the evolution of video games from 1976 with Pong all the way up to modern gaming. The funniest part was all the mothers and women waiting impatiently, while next door was an exhibition designed specifically and exclusively for women, featuring the history of ovens, kettles, irons, Hell, it even had a history of vacuum cleaners. Time to jump back on the bus and get some sleep before another big day tomorrow. Today, I got on a bus to take a tour of the top 40k game stores in London. Before we get into the stores, I just wanted to highlight how fantastic the public transport is in London. Jump on a double-decker bus from one of the many stops found almost everywhere in the city and enjoy the sights as they take you to almost anywhere that you want to go. I found the transport to be consistent, affordable, and easy to understand, even for a dumb cunt like me. Anyway, enough about public transport, let's get on to the game stores.
G'day guys, first stop on our trip through London friendly gaming stores is Dark Sphere and Shepherd's Bush. Let's have a look inside.
Dark Sphere is located in a small shopping centre right next to Westfield, London, and is the largest hobby store in the city. At the bottom of the escalators you are met with a huge space broken up into board games, card games, and of course, tabletop war games. The range in stock in the store is also phenomenal, and most of their products are at least 15% off GW's recommended retail price. They have loads of 40k, Age of Sigmar, as well as hobby related items like paint, basing materials, brushes, etc. The gaming area is also huge with some high quality terrain and gaming mats set up and good to go. They have some great community groups as well if you want to meet new people and arrange some games.
Alrighty guys, second stop on our tour of London gaming stores has brought us to the Rogues Quarters. Let's have a look inside.
Rogues Quarter is a very unique and frankly breathtaking little hobby store. With only a handful of tables and a small range of stock on hand, this would not be your ideal destination for large purchases or tournament play. However, what Rogues Quarter does better than anywhere else is atmosphere, food and drinks, with an engaging and welcoming team. The food was better than any of the many cafes that I visited on this trip, and the potion-themed cocktails were a very nice touch. If you were looking for somewhere quiet to have a game, buy to eat, have a drink, and have a relax, I could not rate the Rogues Quarter more highly.
Alrighty guys, welcome to the final leg of my tour of London friendly local gaming stores. We are at the Bad Moon Cafe. Let's hop inside and have a look around.
Bad Moon Cafe is the high-end gaming store in London. With a very sizable range of 40k in stock, and a great food and drinks menu with pizza and some of the finest cocktails around, they will make a Long Island that will knock you on your ass. This is definitely a great place to thoroughly empty your wallet. The gaming area is also a decent size with great bespoke tables with inbuilt dice trays and edges to protect against fallen minis or rogue dice. The only criticism is that it is so popular to get a table you may need to book several days in advance. But hey, with a game store this high quality, it's most certainly worth making the reservation. Just like Rogues Quarter, Bad Moon Cafe also has a solid range of board games available for hire. Tables set up and good to go for board games, skirmish-sized games like Kill Team, or full-scale games of 40k. Bad Moon Cafe also hosts regular tournaments for both Age of Sigmar and 40k, so check out their various social media pages for more information.
Alrighty guys, that rounds out our trip of the 3 main locations in London that you can play pickup games and play 40k, pick up 40k models and engage in 40k tournaments. All 3 of them, surprisingly and much to my delight, had very strong pros and cons. So if you're in London and you're looking to pick up a game, here's some advice that I would give. 1, if you're on a budget and you're looking to pick up maybe some cheap Warhammer 40k models, or you're looking to play a game somewhere that's not going to cost you an arm and a leg and it's not going to blow out the budget, then I would highly recommend Dark Sphere. They were really, really good. Cheap prices, cheap table hire, and there was no bar, so you're not likely to blow out your budget with them. If you're looking for a more intimate 40k experience where you're going to have to book in advance, you're going to have to, because it's a smaller sort of venue, but amazing food and amazing service and amazing atmosphere, then I would highly recommend the Rogues Quarter. They were a fucking fantastic group of lads that run that store, and it had a really nice sort of boutique, comfortable vibe. This is somewhere where you could easily take your partner and they would be more than happy and more than comfortable. It didn't feel like a nerdy gaming store. It more felt like a, almost like a vintage kind of bookstore kind of feel, but with, great food, great drinks, and 40k.
And then finally, if you're looking for the really high end, then the Bad Moon Cafe is fucking fantastic. They've got like, you know, the dice trays built into the tables, they've got edges on their tables, they've got a massive selection of 40k. It is at full GW retail, but it's a huge selection. They have amazing drinks. I'm a little bit fucked up right now because I just smashed like 2 Long Island iced teas and 2 Tennessee sours, which were fantastic. So yeah, they've got a great bar, great staff, great tables, and they do tournaments. So all around great experience at the Bad Moon Cafe. However, it is on the more expensive end of the spectrum. So there's 3 main spots to check out in London if you're a 40k player, and each one has their pros and cons. So check them all out. I did all of them within the space of a couple of hours it took me to get the buses around. Public transport in London is fantastic. So if you do find yourself in London, you can easily hop on and hop off of buses and check out all of these stores and figure out which one has the best feel for you. But yeah, I would definitely recommend if you're on a budget and you're looking to just pick up some casual games without breaking the bank, check out the Dark Circle, the Dark Sphere I think it was called. Sorry, I'm a bit fucking drunk and I can't remember. If you're looking for a boutique experience, somewhere where you could take, you know, your partner or your family members or something like that, then definitely check out Rogue's Squire, or Rogue's Quarters. Yeah, there it is. And if you're looking for a more high-end competitive experience with the tournaments, check out the Bad Moon Cafe. Alrighty guys, thanks for tuning in and I'll see you soon.
First stop on my guided tour of England was the Windsor Castle, royal residence and home to King Charles III. This absolutely massive and majestic structure was built in the early 11th century and is the longest occupied palace in Europe. Within the castle walls is the 15th century St. George's Chapel, resting place of Queen Elizabeth II and countless other kings, queens and important members of the royal family. Also within the walls are the staterooms, which contain truly mind-boggling collection of artwork and historical displays that have to be seen to be believed. Unfortunately, photography within the walls of the staterooms and the chapel are strictly prohibited, and with guards marching around like this, I wasn't keen to fuck around and find out, so you'll just have to take my word. However, here are some pictures I found online to give you some idea. There were rooms with displays of military history, as well as countless paintings and statues, as well as some of the most intricate and beautiful interior design you will ever see. The clear highlight for me was when one of the security personnel waved me over and whispered, "Blog for the Blood God, right?" into my ear after recognizing my t-shirt, to which I responded a little too loudly with, "Fuck yeah." The Windsor Castle is also surrounded by some great markets and shopping districts. However, unfortunately, my tour was on a tight schedule, so we did not get to explore them fully.
G'day guys, welcome to the next leg of my trip through Europe, the magnificent Stonehenge. Let's have a look around, shall we?
Stonehenge was a truly fascinating site to visit. This prehistoric monument is believed to have been constructed up to 5,000 years ago and is believed to have been constructed as a temple to the sun gods due to its orientation pointing towards the summer solstice sunrise. However, the exact dates and methods of construction remain a mystery to this day. Stonehenge is in a ruined state today. Millennia of decay and damage has taken its toll, not to mention that early visitors were actually encouraged to chip off a section of the stone to take home as a souvenir. When visiting Stonehenge, you will also find a recreation of a prehistoric village, likely the type erected by those responsible for the construction of Stonehenge. There is a replica of one of the original stones mounted on some logs to show one of the popular theories on how these stones were transported to site for construction. Also on site you will find a wonderful and detailed museum, showcasing the history and theories about Stonehenge construction and origins. In the museum are a bunch of exhibitions talking about the history of Stonehenge, some of the various theories on why it was created and who created it, as well as some other factoids about that time period. with a neat little timeline that really helps put the age of Stonehenge into perspective.
Hey guys, we're here in the city of Bath. This is the third and second last stop on my tour for the day, and we've only got an hour here and there's a ton to do. So let's have a look around and see how much we can cram in, shall we?
Bath is a beautiful city 2 hours drive west of London that is famous for its natural hot springs and the Roman baths, as well as being the hometown of Jane Austen. One of the first sites I explored was the Abbey, which was founded in the 7th century and rebuilt in the early 16th century, and has some truly stunning stained glass windows, as well as intricate carved stone details covering every inch of wall within the remarkable church. Not to mention the museum tucked away in its basement. From there, I headed down one of the many market streets, where there were some fantastic local independent stores with sculpted glass, rare whiskey, and some ripper pubs and cafes.
Alrighty guys, one of the things that Bath is renowned for is its cider. This one in particular is known as the Westgate Wobbler because apparently after you've had one, you'll be wobbly on your feet. So close.
No, I just put I wasn't sure that they were to me.
Let's put that name to the test. Alrighty guys, looks like it's going to take more than a pint of 11% cider to knock an Aussie on his ass. One thing that might do it though are these beautiful gardens. I've been to a whole ton of gardens around Europe, some in Belgium, some in central London, and this one is hands down the most beautiful. There's brilliant architecture all the way around the park, and then within the park you've got some really cool sculpted hedges, you've got a water feature, you've got a river running through it, you've got plenty of like seating areas, there's statues, there's so much cool stuff to view in this park. I could almost spend a whole day here. Unfortunately, I've only got about 15 minutes left before the tour bus leaves, so I'm going to have to cut it short and jump on that. However, if you do find yourself in Europe for any reason, I highly recommend coming to Bath and maybe even try to spend a whole day here. I think you could easily spend a day in Bath. There's some really cool stuff here. Unfortunately, I didn't get time to see the Roman baths, which is one of the things the town is famous for. But just walking around in this short hour that I have, there's so many things where I'm like, I could spend an hour there, I could spend an hour there, I could spend an hour there. So definitely, if you do find yourself in this part of the world, check it out. And if you live in this part of the world and you haven't checked it out, shame on you, shame.
Bath has risen to the top of my list of places that I want to revisit next time I come to Europe, and is somewhere I plan to spend a couple of days, as a 1 hour stop on a tour is simply not enough time to take it all in.
G'day guys, and welcome to the final leg of my trip. I'm in the medieval village of Lacock for the last leg, and we're going to have a look around the town. I've got about 20 minutes up my sleeve, so let's have a look, starting off with this kitty cat.
Lacock is a unique medieval era village about 2 hours west of London. It has a population of just over 1,000 people and is almost entirely owned by the National Trust, a charity organisation for heritage conservation. Most of the structures in the village are early 18th century, with some dating back as far as the early 14th century, and are all heritage protected. The village has no streetlights, no road markings, and is one of the most authentically medieval villages in England. Lacock has been used as a film and television location for Beauty and the Beast, Downton Abbey, Pride and Prejudice, and most famously Harry Potter. Lacock was also home to Henry Fox Talbot, a scientist, inventor, and pioneer who was in part responsible for the invention of photography. This rounds out my day trip through the various villages and sites in England. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed it.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please like, subscribe, comment, all that good shit. You know how it works. Also, check out blogforthebloodgod.com. That can give you some really good advice on how you can support this channel through either purchasing some merchandise, following us on Patreon, joining our Discord community, There's all kinds of really cool stuff on that website. Thank you very much for tuning in again, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Cheers.
Blog for the Blood God.
The Warhammer community suffers from some of the most prohibitively expensive essentials in the world, especially Australian content creators. Every single day, Dean wants to create content, but he can't. Suffering from old, worn-out brushes, expensive model kits, and costly software and equipment he can't endure much longer. Just look at this dirty paint water. Would you drink this? Would you let your child? Even a small monthly donation can help provide Dean with clean paint water, basic tools for survival, and access to life-saving information and education. So please, follow the links in the description below and find out how you can sponsor a mad cunt like Dean today and end the suffering. Suffering that is cruel, unsustainable, and your fault.